manuscript, or an autobiography. Examples of primary sources include diaries, such as the Diary of Anne Frank, President Eisenhower's farewell address, a film of the Wright brothers' flight, or a journal article reporting new research or findings. A secondary source interprets, analyzes, or draws conclusions about events reported in a primary source. Secondary sources are one or more steps removed from the event. They may have pictures, quotes, or graphics of primary sources in them. Some types of secondary sources include publications, such as textbooks, magazine articles, histories, criticisms, commentaries, and encyclopedias. Some examples of secondary sources include a journal or magazine article which interprets or reviews previous findings, a history textbook, or a book about the effects of World War I. Ask yourself these questions to decide whether a source is primary or secondary. How does the author know these details, such as names, dates, and times? Was the author present at the event or soon on the scene? Where does this information come from? Personal experience, eyewitness accounts, or reports written by others? Are the author's conclusions based on a single piece of evidence, or have many sources been taken into account? For example, diary entries along with third-party eyewitness accounts and newspaper accounts. Primary and secondary source material is available through the library databases as well as from reputable sites on the internet. Our Canvas course site contains a list of sites where you can...
Okay. So I apologize if you heard my cat sneezing in the background. The video is attached to the assignment, so you can watch the video again. So this lesson was designed to be in person, but we had Zoom classes that day. But I did let you guys do breakout groups. It says, work with a partner to define primary, firsthand, source, and secondary in your own words in your guided notes. So let me pull that up. I think it's on this page. So this is the second part. And here, let me delete this. I don't want to give too much away. But this is where you should be writing examples of primary and secondary sources from the video. The link's there as well. But for this next part, take a moment to write out your own definition of each word below. Afterwards, we will review the definitions together as a whole class. So I have some examples for you. So primary, you're putting words that are going to help you remember the definition. So primary, first, firsthand, important. And then definition of firsthand, original source or personal experience. What does a source mean? Something that will help us find the answer for something that we are looking for. And if you're unsure, I did this with the class, if you're unsure about the definition of a word, just go in. It's so hard to open new tabs when I'm screen sharing. Look up the definition. So on the basis that something has had a previous owner, on the basis of what others have said indirectly. I like this one because a secondary source, the person wasn't at the event, right? The primary source is the person was there. So if that's going to help you remember, you can paste it or write your own version. A person who was not at the event. Okay, so you are just writing your own definition to help you remember the meaning of these words. Okay, and you can give you a hint here. You need even more help. I put the definitions on the slides. So if you go to the slideshow link, attached to the assignment. You can put that all there. So I'm going to delete this so I'm not doing all the work for you. And this is a exercise we'll practice later because it's helpful to remember new vocabulary words if you kind of write your own definition, kind of simplify it so it's easier for you to remember. And also, let me return to the slides one more time. So as a class, after we did that, we just reviewed it one more time. Primary sources, those are original documents or original research. We've got some examples here. Secondary sources. These are works that synthesize, summarize, or interpret primary sources. So textbooks, reviews, things like that. So how do primary and secondary sources differ? While primary sources are the original records created by firsthand witness of an event, secondary sources are documents, texts, images, and objects about an event created by someone who typically referenced the primary source for their information. Textbooks are an excellent example of secondary sources. So we are going to be learning about ancient civilizations. And I asked, why might the information learned today be helpful? We're going to be using primary sources like artifacts to learn about ancient civilizations. And we'll be using secondary sources, so articles. So this is the last part of your homework. Scenario practice. Take a moment to look at the scenarios below. Read the source description or scenario and highlight whether it is a primary or secondary source. And we did some together. I did some for you. So the first question, I was watching ESPN, that's a sports channel. So I was watching ESPN and one of the reporters said he had heard good reviews about a new sports movie. When he talks about the movie, what is he? So the reporter said he heard good reviews about the movie. He hasn't seen the movie. So he heard that from another person. So that's secondary. Number 2, I found a letter to one of my friends in the locker room after school the other day. I know it's private, but I want to read it. What is the letter? So the letter is a primary source because it's, the details from the author is from their point of view. Now, if the friend read the letter and was telling you about it, she's a secondary source because she wasn't there with the author. Number 3, my friends and I found an old wedding dress in our attic. My father said it belonged to my grandmother. What is the dress? So this is a primary source. Because the wedding dress is kind of like an artifact, right? This is their grandmother's wedding dress. So if they wanted to learn more about what life was like when their grandmother was younger, what the wedding was like, they can look at this wedding dress as a source. It is a primary source. Number 4, at school, we use textbooks to learn about the history of the United States. When we use textbooks, what are we using? So you're going to highlight this right here and go to the little marker, pick any color you want, as a secondary source because the authors of the textbooks weren't there. You just go down here. So this is your assignment. Watch the video, write down examples of primary sources and secondary sources. You can also use the slides examples because they're all the same. Down here, if you need to Google the definition to help you, or you were going to write your own definition of each word. Oh wait, I should put primary definition. Okay. That's what you're gonna do for that. And then for scenario practice, highlight the answers, go down the list. This is a 15-point assignment. Please message me if you need any additional help. I hope this video helps you. And just keep in communication with me or Mrs. Staff, and we will do everything we can to help you understand. All right, I think that's it. I hope you have a good rest of your day.